Do you guys remember infomercials? Those quick, in-your-face commercials that used to play through the late hours of the night, hoping to grasp your weary attention enough for you to buy their product. They've kind of grown obsolete as time goes on, and on-demand streaming continues to dominate. However, last night, I got one of those infomercials right in the middle of streaming Netflix. I was halfway through the Fly episode of Breaking Bad and starting to nod off when there was a sudden shift in the dialogue coming from the television. A cheery-voiced woman started bursting through the speakers, completely snapping me out of my stupor. "The end of the world, coming to a neighborhood near you," she chirped. Almost celebratorily, I wiped the sleep from my eyes and once again became fixated on the TV. "That's right, folks, the end is indeed near. Be sure to make your peace with whatever deity you serve and hug your families," she sang gleefully. I watched, completely dazed, as she strutted across the screen, lines of green screens behind her. Her dress was rose red, matching her lipstick, and her teeth shone with the brightness of the night stars, her pasted smile never leaving her perfectly smooth face. The green screens suddenly lit up, revealing satellite imagery of different continents across the globe. Black smoke enveloped North America, and a wall of flames could be seen dividing the U.S. straight down the middle. The southern states were underwater, and South America had disappeared entirely underneath gallons of salt water. "Wow!" she exclaimed. "Look at those flames." She then moved to the European green screen that glowed like a Christmas tree as dozens of nuclear warheads detonated. Germany, France, Poland, all gone within an instant. Air raid sirens could be heard over the woman's excited voice as she continued her pitch. "What do you say we show the people what they're paying to see, huh? What do you guys think?" the lady chimed. An echo of applause roared out from the screen as the camera panned around, revealing bleachers packed to the brim with onlookers. I tried exiting out of Netflix, but no matter how many times I fumbled with the controller, the woman remained on screen, televising some version of the apocalypse. I gave up all attempts at escape once I unplugged the TV and still heard her sing-songy voice billowing out unwavering. I surrendered completely and allowed my eyes to stay glued to the screen. The woman then returned to the North American green screen, and the satellite imagery was now camera footage from within America. Borders were being raided, and masked patrolmen fired upon anyone in sight. Gunfire clapped and rang out for miles while fleeing citizens fell to the ground, being trampled by the people behind them. The imagery then shifted to Middle America, showing thousands of innocent people being eaten alive and dissolved by acid rain that fell from the black cloud of smoke, which blotted out the sun. Buildings were completely destroyed and burned to ash and rubble. Abandoned cars lined the streets. Isn't this perfect, people? Absolutely brilliant display of carnage. But wait, there's more. Let's take a look at what the dirty South has in store. The imagery then cut to what was left of Louisiana. Streets were flooded with rushing hurricane water, while the desperate cries of people on the verge of drowning rang out like a cacophonic siren. "Calls are flooding in, people," she winked. "Let's see what this customer has to say. What's your name, hun?" She held the phone out in front of her, revealing it to the audience. All that came were tormented screams that were those of nightmares. Pleading shouts of despair, begging for safety. The woman smirked and hung the phone up abruptly. "Sorry, hun," she laughed. "No refunds." The camera then panned to the European green screen. "Ah, yes, fantastic. Let's hear what our European customers have to say." The street views of Europe nearly made me vomit. Nuclear warfare had rendered the entire continent utterly desolate. A grey wasteland of broken empires with buildings turned to piles on the ground and bomb survivors crawling on their stomachs towards safety that didn't exist. The screen showed the Eiffel Tower broken in half and jagged. The beautiful structures of Moscow completely erased. Sirens screamed, and fires ravaged. The broken and battered streets were void of any human noise, any sounds of hope. "Uh-oh. Looks like someone's feeling a little grey today," she said with a sarcastic frown. "Seems like Europe is still learning the ropes of our product." I knew I had to be having some sort of nightmare. I had to have been in some sort of lucid dream. This is just the start, people. Call in now to reserve your end-of-the-world package before it's all gone. I started to feel dizzy, and my head was pounding and spinning at the same time. I closed my eyes and rubbed my head hard for only a moment, but when they returned to the screen, I felt my heart fall to my stomach. The woman's red lips were curled from ear to ear, and her previously lovey-dovey eyes had now turned bloodshot and full of rage as she stared directly into the camera. She looked directly into my soul for what felt like ages before her mouth morphed and twisted into a black hole that screeched an earth-shattering siren noise that pierced my eardrums. My head throbbed and spun, and I felt bile rise in my stomach before blacking out on the edge of my bed. I awoke the next morning to find my television plugged in with the trademark "You still there?" message displayed across the screen. I remembered the events of the previous night and immediately checked my phone. No news on fires destroying the country or nuclear annihilation in Europe. I sighed, relieved, and fell back onto my bed. I began drifting back into sleep, but a soft buzzing started worming its way into my ear. The noise grew and grew until it was no longer buzzing, and my eyes shot open with adrenaline as the sound of air raid sirens filled my room.